Very good evening, everyone. Please confirm if you all can hear me. Can you please confirm in the chat if I'm audible? Please quickly join because we are going to start this amazing webinar in a minute. Very good evening, Paras. Thank you. Thank you so much for confirming. So have you ever wondered what truly sets a global regulatory affairs professional apart in today's rapidly evolving biopharma and medtech world? Is it strong scientific knowledge, ability to interpret guidelines, or the skills to communicate with global agencies? Or is it something more, something bigger? Well, by end of this webinar, you will have the answer. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Tanushree, and I welcome you all to today's power-packed webinar on navigating global regulatory affairs strategies for success in biopharma and medtech. Today in this webinar, you will learn the fundamentals of global regulatory frameworks, explore the technologies shaping the future of regulatory affairs, and understand what it truly takes to build a successful international regulatory career. To enlighten us on this today, we have with us three very experienced and eminent personalities. Let me introduce our esteemed speakers of the day. We have with us Dr. Renuka, who is an expert from pharma and biopharma sectors, especially in the area of regulatory affairs. She is a strategic pharmaceutical and biopharmaceutical professional with extensive expertise in portfolio and pipeline management, regulatory strategy, and clinical development. She has a persistent track record of successfully pursuing a challenging role to leverage expertise in driving strategic decision-making, optimizing product life cycles, and delivering impactful R&D and commercial outcomes to accelerate pipeline growth and ensure organizational success. Dr. Renuka, in her session, will provide insights on future of global regulatory affairs, emerging trends, and technologies. Also, we have with us Dr. Ganeshan, who holds a PhD in microbiology. Hello, Dr. Ganeshan. Hello, Renuka ma'am.
Hello.
Dr. Ganeshan holds a PhD in microbiology with a vast area of experience in many fields of biosimilars, quality assurance, and medical diagnostic laboratories and medical devices. She has served as the clinical director at Medical Electronic Systems India Private Limited with a strong expertise in clinical trials, data analysis, and regulatory affairs. Passionate about teaching and continuous learning, Dr. Ganeshan excels at presenting scientific concepts and research in a clear and relatable manner. Currently, she is serving as subject expert QA and QC and regulatory affairs at Biotechnica. Dr. Ganeshan in her session will guide us on global regulatory landscape foundations and frameworks. We are also joined by Mrs. Bhanu Melvin ma'am, a very highly competent professional with a strong foundation in pharmacy and extensive experience across academia, healthcare, regulatory affairs, and corporate training. Hello, Bhanu Melvin ma'am.
Hi, good evening, ma'am.
Very good evening. So, Bhanu Melvin ma'am has trained numerous students and working professionals in clinical research, pharmacovigilance, clinical data management, regulatory affairs, and clinical SAS, and holds multiple global certifications. Currently serving as an academic and research support specialist in CDM, pharmacovigilance and regulatory affairs at Biotechnica, Mrs. Melvin will guide us on the career pathways and success strategies in regulatory affairs. We are truly honored to have you all with us today. So before we begin with today's webinar session, I request all the attendees to please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box at any time during the webinar, and we'll address them during the live Q&A session after the presentation. So let's begin with the first session. I request Dr. Ganeshan to kindly begin with the presentation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Tanushree, for a wonderful introduction. Actually, the privilege is ours to have this front to talk to everyone. And being the first speaker of the session, I absolutely feel the pressure of it because I know that there are many viewers who are waiting to know more about this course and this course of events that are going to follow in today's webinar and how global regulatory affairs is making a great impact on the entire pharma and the medical device industry. I hope my screen is visible to all.
Yes, ma'am, it's
Okay.
visible.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tanushree, for confirming. And a very warm good evening to all of you present in this webinar. And in today's rapidly evolving pharmaceutical and medical device industry, understanding complex regulatory environment is very, very crucial for success. So the regulatory frameworks may vary across countries, and navigating these differences is very essential for companies to be bringing out their innovative products into the market. So the presentation will cover an overview of global regulatory landscape, including the key regulatory agencies and the frameworks and how, though everyone is different, what is definitely common and the initiatives that shape this complete industry. So we will also be seeing where we are as freshers who want to get into this industry or what are the prospective roles and what we might expect in this industry and what is the crucial role we might play as a regulatory affairs professional. So, to explain briefly, because I'm the first speaker, I'll just be very brief about what is global regulatory affairs. It refers to the function within the pharmaceutical or biotechnological medical device company that ensures compliance with international regulations governing the development, manufacturing, approval, and marketing of healthcare products. Though it might all sound same or related, it can be a whole new episode all by itself because you need permissions and regulatory guidelines to develop a product, to manufacture it, and you need approvals to conduct trials for it and marketing of the healthcare product. So, everywhere you are bound by certain regulatory agencies and are required to obtain approvals in designated places. And as a regulatory affairs professional, what is our role in this entire process is what I'm going to be talking about today. So, regulatory affairs is going to encompass the strategic and operational activities required to secure and maintain the product approvals. Because of these regulatory agencies who impose the guidelines and are very strict about the approvals, we are able to take the therapy or use the devices and go for diagnostics in a confident manner as a consumer. We feel relaxed at home because of a particular FDA approval or an EU approval because this regulatory affairs exist. So that should give you an idea of how crucial this is. So the benefit of having the regulatory compliance is definitely any organization which has a compliance certificate will definitely have an improved reputation. Its product will definitely hit the market and will be renowned for it. There will be more innovation because regulatory affairs will look for what is different before approving every other product, right? And access to the new markets. So a product made in one country can access another market if they show regulatory compliance catering to that particular market. And definitely an increased customer trust that I spoke about. And it will protect the legal liabilities instead of going wrong and having a big mishap and having a very huge price to pay in terms of money, in terms of people's lives. Regulatory compliance will shorten all the odds and give you an assurance of a good product. And there is definitely improved operational efficiency because for the regulatory compliance, you are supposed to have a good QMS or a quality management system, and it will improve the efficiency and definitely reduce the risk of the fines and penalties that you have to face later because you're already doing a good job with the regulatory compliance. So regulatory compliance is it all about rules, mugging up the standards, having policies and boring documents, compliance to requirements, regulations. Yes, it is, but it also values a lot of legal binding and the transparency in your documents so that we would know what is very important. So, what does a regulatory affairs professional basically do? So they act as a crucial link between your pharma company and the global regulatory authorities. Earlier, these were separate private agencies. Now, every organization has its own regulatory team to start inbuilting that, that quality and regulatory documentation and every purpose right from the beginning. So that saves all the time and it like shortens the odds on that on something going wrong. So the primary goal as a regulatory affairs primary goal person is to ensure that the products like drugs, biologics, and biomedical devices meet the stringent standards for safety, efficacy, and quality before they actually reach the market. So that is the entire point, right? Ultimately, everyone is behind the same goal of having the safety and efficacy and quality. So you will hear these terms are the ones which are the reason why regulatory affairs exist. So, a key responsibility of a regulatory affairs person, I'm just giving you an overview or a bird's eye view here. So, it will be developing the regulatory strategies, planning the development and approval pathways for new products, and making sure it goes ahead without any hitches, preparing the documents so that it moves forward. Relevant forms are filled, the regular documents are there, relevant studies are done, and it is noted down, and the reports exist. Liaising with the agencies. If you have a product which is promising, you get in touch with the respective regulatory agency, either the FDA or the EMA, right at the beginning, and they will also start helping you. We must all understand that the regulatory agencies are not going to criticize you. They are not there to put regulations so that your product don't come out. They definitely exist to approve products in a safer way. So they will provide a guideline as to what is required and what more evidence you need to substantiate. So that is definitely a part. So that as a regulatory affair professional, you will be liaising right at the beginning from them and ensuring the compliances, ensuring that you have a good manufacturing practice in place and good clinical practice when you do your trials. And all these are done and it is ensured and documented and it is submitted in the right format is all the business of a regulatory affairs professional. So managing a product life cycle, definitely right from the beginning to the end, even after the post-market activities, they should include safety reports, risk assessment documents, labeling updates, any feedback that you get, and submission for new indications. Maybe you introduce a product into market. Like we all know, many products which come into the market to treat type 1 diabetes, and they also treat obesity. So as a subsequent indication, you can apply as a say supplementary ANDA, supplementary NDA, so that you can actually apply for a new indication and your medicine can be used for a new indication. So this regulatory knowledge should be present, and that is the role of a regulatory affairs professional, to be on top of the things each time and every time. So there are many regulatory agencies. Every country has its own. CDSCO for India, FDA has so many numerous departments like CIDR for the medical devices, and then CIBR for biologics, and CDRH for medical devices, sorry, and CIDR for the drugs, and CIBR, CBER for the biologics. There are huge departments in within FDA. And European Medicine Agency is a whole compilation for all the different states in European Medical Agency. So there are different submissions you can make in a centralized form for all the countries together, all the states together, or in a decentralized form if you want to market into a limited market. So there are a whole lot of guidelines and knowledge that you need to have before you need to know where you're going to market your product, how do you make an application, and each country, for example, PMDA and Japan and TGA. So everyone has their own set of rules, regulation, and documentation and processes. So, how do we unify them all? All of them, more or less, are based on the centralized or a global initiative, harmonization initiatives, like your ICH guidelines. So, International Council for Harmonization for all the medical uses, and ISO. There are a whole lot of documents. So, ISO exists for medical devices like 13485, and definitely the WHO provides a lot of guidelines on how the clinical trials to be done. More or less, your regulatory agencies will base themselves upon how much of these guidelines an organization is following. So only when the organization shows thoroughly that they have been following all these guidelines, the GMP guidelines and all these guidelines, they will be more open towards providing approvals. There will be lesser questions. So though they all differ, they are all based upon these global harmonization initiatives. That is exactly where, as a regulatory professional, we come into the picture, where we are familiar with the global harmonization of all the different countries. And we really need to have every knowledge of what is happening in each country and what are the recent updates. So, looking at the framework in abroad, you can say that government approved regulatory authority, just what we covered, conformity assessment bodies, because these are the bodies which will assess if your device or your drug is it already conforming to something which is already existing, does it have already a predicate device, and you're just a similar. So the conformity to the regulatory standards which we spoke about, these bodies will be the ones who will be taking care of it. And in this framework, we also have a classification based on the risk to the user. For example, medical devices are always classified in classes of 1, 2, 3, 4, or A, B, C, D in the increasing order of the risk. So, all this classification is a very crucial form in the network. Definitely, the quality management system, which I spoke about, which is very, very important. And we know that the quality management system is based upon your ISOs. So, the system for evaluating the clinical safety and the surveillance system that you have for post market surveillance, the system to allow the market entrances, the regulatory rules, all these together form the complete system of the regulatory framework. Now, you might be thinking that with all these rules and regulations, does anything ever get approved at all? To tell you truthfully, it does. In the year 2024 itself, EMA, FDA, and MHRA, which is for the UK, between them, they had something like 53 novel drugs which were not previously approved by any of these two agencies. They got them through. And there were 28 first in class drug materials which were approved. So there are things which get approved and come in. So beyond these rules, the ones who excel are definitely will be rated as a good quality product and safety product, which is the entire ambition of having the regulatory agencies and the regulatory guidelines. And that is where, as a regulatory professional, we are there to liaise between the organization and the regulatory agencies. So we have to realize beyond these rules, there is definitely some success. So you might be curious, like what are the career opportunities? I'm sure my colleagues who are going to be speaking after me are going to cover them in detail. But my job is to give you a bird's eye view, and I'll tell you that there are opportunities across the biopharma, the medtech companies, which involve the medical and the technology part, where a lot of bench work is there, not just the lab scientist work, and then the CROs, which are contract research organizations. So these are the research organizations which take up clinical trials and jobs for organizations which they themselves don't have a clinical team. So it can be outsourced. There are also organizations like the contract manufacturing and development CDMOs, which are existing so that they can large scale up your product which was developed maybe at your organization. So they also recruit people in regulatory affairs because they have to follow the rules of GMP and GLP. So definitely the career path fits into a lot of these avenues. So biopharma and medtech, you can see that the entry level positions are often called for are regulatory affairs associates, coordinators, which focus on the administrative tasks and document at the entry level. And then when you scale up, you actually level up to a mid level. You see the affairs specialists who know their rules and they are managing the dossiers and they know what is required for each approval. So here we go on the next scale. And other than that, you also see the senior level where you have the regulatory affairs manager who will have their own team supervising different products at the same time, and they will represent the company in negotiation with the regulatory bodies. So again, you can specialize in each of their departments. You can have a specialization in pharmacovigilance or in labeling alone. You might think it is just all about stickers, but no, there are individual guidelines for everything around there. So given these are the job titles that you can look for when you're looking for jobs, over the social media, the LinkedIn pages, and your different access points, there are definitely what you can look for in contract research organizations. You have roles where the RE specialists are called for and who have a basic knowledge of the regulatory needs and have previous experience in the clinical trial assistance, and they have an idea about the market strategies, right? And the career path for working for a CRO offers exposure to a wide range of scientific disciplines, right? From regulatory frameworks to the product to a client facing role. So there is a whole lot of avenue in the CROs. It might look like, a contract organization, but definitely there is a great career opportunity there. And it's an excellent starting point for those who are looking for transitioning from a core science role to an RA role. And it requires a very less initial experience, but here is where you actually gain those experience, right? And there are definitely government agencies which are the other side of the approval, the FDA, EMA, CDSCO, where these RA professionals serve as the reviewers and regulators, right? If you cannot set the question paper, you can always be the answer checker. So yeah, so you do have the other side of the approval. You can go for the roles which are product reviewer. There are a lot of government agencies. You can look into the newspapers. You have many CDSCO coming up with many postings initially. So the benefit is it offers deep understanding of the regulatory process. So, for example, I'll just give you an analogy. Even before I started teaching, I might have had some exposure, but once you start teaching, you study more about the topic. Similarly, when you are becoming a reviewer, when you start looking at it from the other side of approval, you start to have a deeper understanding of the regulatory process from the enforcement side, and it contributes directly to the public health. And you might go to sleep with a satisfaction in mind. Current hiring trends are already having the digital transformation and AI going all right, left, center. There is a growing need for RA professionals with specialized knowledge in the emerging areas, and it's going really high. Okay, so great knowledge and understanding of the biosimilars, cell gene therapy, along with your ECTDs and your RA dossiers, that will get you hired definitely. But it all depends upon how much you learn. And the global and hybrid network, you can sit here and work for external agency. I would know because sitting here, I have worked for some other regulate submission dossiers, helping other companies. We have all done that, and there are so many consulting positions, and definitely there is a huge scope depending upon how much of knowledge and experience you are gaining. And upskill is definitely crucial, as my colleagues at the other presentations will be able to tell you. Upskilling is crucial in every profession, and RA is no different. So there is a huge expansion of the industry. I have the data right here that India, specifically for the pharmaceutical, is expecting to grow with leaps and bounds in tens and thousands. And there are new roles coming up every day. And if you can see the salary or the global scenario, you have definitely a linear phase with increasing experience, and ranging from the annual salary in Indian rupee, you can see how much a consultant or a manager or a specialist can make. And it all depends upon how much knowledge you take and how much experience you gather. So I would recommend that you pay very close attention to all the speakers after me, because they are the ones who are definitely going to give you a very positive insight throughout the lecture today. And ensuring safety and efficacy and quality one approval time, that's what we are as a regulatory affairs professional. Thank you so much for your attention, and really glad to have met you all today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ganeshan ma'am, for the comprehensive and insightful overview of global regulatory landscape. Now I request Dr. Renuka ma'am to start with her presentation. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tanushri. I'm sharing my screen. Dr. Tanushri, please confirm if it is visible to you.
Yes, ma'am. I think it's about, yeah, it's perfectly visible.
Okay, great. So, hello everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are across the globe. Dr. Ganeshan has made my life very easy. Thank you so much, Dr. Ganeshan. It was a very insightful presentation, and I think I can leverage on some of the points you have said and avoid some repetitions in my presentation. I'm given the topic of navigating global regulatory affairs strategies for success in biopharma and medtech. It's a very, very vast topic in itself, but I will try to be as just as possible to whatever information is available right now on the open domain across the industry and also plug in my experiences. I would like to spend a few seconds here on the disclaimer that this is to inform all of you that this presentation, the contents of this presentation reflect my personal views and opinions, and these are interpreted from the widely available open for quotation material available on the internet, and hence these are my personal opinions. They do not represent in any way an official position or endorsement or agreement from any of the affiliated organizations or employees or employers or groups with whom I may or I am associated. Thank you. So now I deep dive into this. These are the subtopics for my talk today, where we talk of digital transformation and regulatory process. Talk of automation, what is the RWE, which is real world evidence. Then rise of global harmonization and remote work opportunities. I think this was touched very well by Dr. Ganeshan. Then there are emerging sectors with medtech, digital therapeutics, and combination products. Combination products meaning drug plus device. And then evolving roles and required skills for the next gen regulatory professionals. This is something that every one of you must be very alert about, and the reason why you are attending this webinar probably. So I think I will touch base on this in the beginning, so I spent some good amount of time on this. And then we have the sustainability and ethical considerations in global RA, which is always a very, very complex topic to discuss. So again, this is the drug life cycle. I think already some things have been said about this, and the artificial intelligence touches every aspect of drug discovery. So it starts from drug discovery, formulation development, manufacturing, supply chain management, and the post-market surveillance. And the subtopics are there on the slide. Here, I would like to take a pause, and these are my own interpretation, or I would say my own analogy of how to look at AI. So you saw in Dr. Ganeshan's slide, you have the entry level, the mid level, the senior level, and the specializations. Now imagine that the organization is faced with a very, very complex challenge, and there is nobody in the organization who can solve that problem. And in that case, what you do is you hire a super specialized consultant who comes in, walks in, just looks at the problem, knows exactly what has to be done, and provides a solution. So that's a very, very evolved experience that talks. AI is exactly the same. So AI right now is in a nascent stage. 2022 saw the rise of ChatGPT. ChatGPT is taking a hold of it. Now everybody is using ChatGPT even to talk to relations, friends on the apps, etc. So right now, what is happening is AI is getting geared up with lot of data collection and applying the machine learning concepts of what is the input to what is the output, or what is the output expected, so what has to be the input. It's at a very, very simple stage right now, and we are and the entire community is entering into more and more and more complex ways of learning. I think there must be some new inventions happening as we talk right now. So it is very difficult to say, oh, how exactly it is done. The question in our mind is, okay, AI, everybody throws the term around, but what exactly has to be done? So this is something that's a head down work that many companies are right now into. They are feeding their own data to the AI softwares and getting some meaningful outputs from those. And this is something that we cannot go and buy in the market. Everybody is developing it on their own, or there are specialized companies which are acting as vendors to support their customers, or that is the big pharma companies, to compile their data, take a sense out of it, and teach the machine to learn how to interpret and extrapolate that data. It is the same way that the experienced consultant is going to walk in and provide solution, but that is going to take some time. So I would say in the entire spectrum of entry, mid, senior, specialized, we are right now even at the more nascent stage of entry level. So this is something that we have to learn in an organic way. For example, few years back, like 10, 12 years back, there was no course which taught regulatory affairs or quality assurance. We were all learning on the job. Now there are so many institutes who are teaching regulatory affairs, but it had to evolve over the time. It had to evolve. The ICH had to evolve. The streamlining of the regulatory processes had to evolve for us to reach at this stage. So I spent some time here, but I think this is very important to set your expectations right. So what should a regulatory professional who wants to do something in AI should do is, let us see this. So now, what are the modalities that the regulatory that the artificial intelligence is supporting regulatory affairs? So it helps in regulatory submissions, in compliance monitoring, labeling, pharmacovigilance, quality assurance. So basically, it is involved in document management, submission tracking, and compliance monitoring. All this comes through the entire life cycle of the product. So here, AI is going to come into play, but it has to be fed a lot of data for itself to generate some meaningful outcome out of it. Now, let us directly dive into examples and you will understand what is happening. So let us see major companies, okay? Pfizer, Novartis, AstraZeneca, Sanofi. Now, if you see Pfizer, I have bolded some words in this slide. If you see Pfizer, it is going to partner companies like Tempus and Cytoreason to integrate AI. Now, what I did was, for this particular lecture, I was trying to see if Tempus is offering any courses or Cytoreason is offering any courses. So these are basically very, very business driven companies and they are very focused. So they are not offering any courses, but what they do is they have career options open. For people who are really interested in this can look at any opportunities that are there in these companies. They can club the regulatory affairs expertise or information or knowledge that an individual has to apply to the data that has to be entered and then a meaning derived out of it. So basically, it is all a very organic type of a growth that is happening right now, and there is nothing, like a ready-made package that will make you enter into the AI. So if you see Pfizer is already looking at reducing computational time to up to 90% by going into this. It is taking the IBM's artificial intelligence platform. If you go to the IBM website, you have a My IBM. You can actually log in into it, and there are hundreds of courses there, and you can equip yourself. You can upgrade your CV, and then you can, say, okay, this is a good proposal. I think Biotechnica also might be having something like that, where they're offering the general AI or the AI for everyone. Then if you see Novartis, it is having collaboration with Microsoft and Nvidia. Nvidia, by the way, broke all the records of scaling absolutely very high on the stock exchange. So it's a very big company coming up in AI and R&D. And what this is basically doing is, it is looking at the clinical trial participants and how to reduce the cost and speed up enrollment. AstraZeneca is again having the platforms which I mentioned there. Again, it is more into optimizing the clinical trial design and the drug delivery process. Then similarly, you have Sanofi and Janssen. So here are the examples, and you can pause your video when I think it is on YouTube. You can actually pause it, note these organizations down, go into these websites and see what exactly they have to offer. So these examples are like the guiding lighthouses for all of us, including me, because I'm just simply trying to get into this understanding what exactly is happening there. So for all of us, these are like guiding goalposts. Let us see if how we can grow organically using these. These are again some more examples in specific AI use cases, like automation, regulatory intelligence. So there is, if you see the second row, GSK has an AI system which helps us identify the gaps in compliance and cover up the gaps. Now, GSK is a big company, a very old company. It has a lot of data. It has already started putting into its AI platform, and it has already started using it to identify the gaps. So there are some more examples here, and on every slide, wherever this data has come from, there is a link. So you can use that link and go to that web page and find more information there. Now about the healthcare of excellence, if we see what is happening in terms of the health agencies. So FDA has this Digital Health Center for Excellence, which provides guidance to cybersecurity. It provides guidance to augmented reality and virtual reality in medical devices. It provides software guidances and the do's and don'ts for medical devices. It also works on the wireless medical devices, which work on the cloud-based platform or the Bluetooth platform or whichever is feasible. Now, here, what is important is I'll speak 1 minute about the augmented reality and virtual reality in medical devices. So the thing is, devices are very, very difficult, to understand how they are. Like you see a lot of insulin pens, you see a lot of safety devices with prefilled syringes inside it. The issue is how much force it is going to take to press the plunger so that the drug is delivered. Because ultimately, most of these devices are manually operated, either by the healthcare professional or by the patient itself or by the patient's relatives. I'll give you one simple example. Like Japan, if you know the overall population and the demographics of Japan, the people are petite, and they are not like huge like maybe the Scandinavians or maybe the US typical from the Texas kind of geography. So they have a lesser force to apply. So if you look at, say, what force PMDA will approve, it will not approve something which is beyond 19 newtons. And then, what happens to the US and the EU? So all this has to be harmonized. And that is what the simulation is doing. The softwares are simulating and generating a virtual reality in medical devices. This was a small example. The same can happen in cardiac stents, the same can happen in prosthesis, and many, many other fields. And for this, there are these knowledge hubs which are listed here, which are supported by various agencies. Then already this is enough spoken of what is the scope, what are the challenges, what are the automation features. What I would like to say is the bolded font here, which is artificial intelligence in regulatory submissions, which gives you predictive analytics and risk management. And then there is a NLP for RA. So NLP for RA is the language that you speak to understand how you feed in the data. It has the benefits for the automation, and it has also the features. So I'm not going to read this out. They are here, and which are obvious benefits of this. The predictive analytics is something that is important, where we said that A outcome is going to give a B out, A input is going to give a B output. That is something that artificial intelligence works as a backbone. So this language is going to help us learn that and give the benefits of RA automation and the features with which it is able to be achieved. Then we have the submissions, how they are powered. These are the compilation of submission data, and then there is a methodology. Like if we want to submit compiled data, the NLP can review the draft of submissions to flag errors for inconsistency that might delay the approval. So basically, it will reduce a lot of information requests, IR from the agency, or a lot of questions from the agency, a lot of inquiries from Japan. So the same term, like questions, have different terminologies in different regions. Like in US FDA, it is called an information request, IR. With Japan, it is called an inquiry. With Canada, it is called a clarifax, so on and so forth. But it all means they are asking us questions. And generally, these questions are pretty obvious, and these are gaps in our own submission. Now you have compiled and your submission data is ready, then you need to generate and validate the submission the same way that the health agencies validate. Again, it has to reduce the human error and the administrative burden. Then you actually have the ability to draft regulatory documents, like you can actually draft the clinical study report from the huge data that a clinical trial generates. And then with all this, now you identified gaps, your compliance. Sometimes, you just know that there is a gap. You cannot help it. The best area is the stability data section, where, we are generally deficient. We are not a very textbook picture, and we anticipate these errors. So then the regulatory engine, intelligence engine pitches in, and it tells you what is the prospective question that is expected on a particular section of the dossier, and what kind of response will float through the agency. So these are something AI powered submission elements. And then we have the harmonization. I would just like to say there is not much to talk, because there is a lot of information there. FDA, EMA are actively working on harmonizing their approaches to artificial intelligence in drug development and regulations. These are the ways they are harmonizing. The more of this area is about post marketing vigilance, where you talk of the safety of whatever you have approved. Ultimately, the accountability of a safe product in the market lies with the sponsor or the manufacturer, but it also lies equally with the health agencies, because they have approved your product for marketing. So pharmacovigilance, it becomes a very, very critical area when it comes to harmonization, because ultimately it is the product which is consumed by humans, And if there are side effects, there are adverse events, it is going to be the same. So that notification has to be global. So along with others, vigilance is something that global harmonization is concentrating more on. These are all the AI ML guidances, not all. These are few of the important ones. And if you go into each link, you will go deeper and deeper and deeper into the caves. You know how it is, right? Oh, let us see what this link shows. Let us see what this link shows. And then you're lost at one point in time, and you just don't remember what you started with. So let there has to be a method to the madness when we learn this topic, and we have to really make notes and jot down, okay, this is what I learned, this is what gives rise to this information, and this information gives rise to this information, so that we are not bogged down by the information overload, and we really make some sense out of what we are reading and studying and spending our very important resource, which is time, in all this. So let us be cautious in doing that. And then these are the same ones, like what exactly is EMA doing with the updated strategy focus. So there is a EMANS 2028. It was released in 2023, which is the EMA. It stands for the EMA network service, and it is about these six attributes. So it is talking of accessibility, leveraging data, regulatory science, innovation, competitiveness. It talks of antimicrobial resistance and other health threats. This is a very different one coming up in the AI backbone, but it is important because it is talking of the multi-drug resistance. Then it talks of availability, supply, and the sustainability network. And this roadmap is set for EMA till the 2028, and EMA is taking all possible steps to achieve this. Similarly, the artificial intelligence to support regulatory decisions for US FDA is over here. They have some important targets to achieve, that is reduce the number of animal based PKPD toxicology studies. Then they want to go into predictive modeling for clinical PK. Like, to give one example, is now FDA and EMA both are streamlining their approaches into developing the biosimilars, where they are now understanding from the last 25 years of data that in the development of biosimilars, you really do not need a clinical efficacy safety study 100%. Like, for it will be based on the product attributes and what kind of product you want to market. There might be cases where you may need a clinical efficacy safety study, but majorly you can base your biosimilarity on a single clinical PK study, which is in healthy volunteers, or if required, in patients. So this is the predictive modeling that they're talking of, where they want to see the clinical PK supporting the exposure response analysis for the entire patient population. And then they're talking of integrating of data from various sources. They're talking of processing and analyzing large sets of data. That is what AI wants to have to derive some output. And then it has, again, the post-marketing adverse event experience information compilation, and then the selection of the manufacturing conditions, which is last. And that last point brings to the harmonization that FDA and EMA have about conducting joint inspections for facilities. So the links are again there in the bottom of the slide. And here it is the medtech. So here, this there are two approaches of this. I heard Dr. Ganeshan talk about medtech, where you're talking of medicine with a technology platform, but there is something called the medtech, which is the intersection of medical technology and pharmaceuticals, which is a association. That is an association in the European industry. It is a non-profit organization, and it is having collaboration with EMA to enhance the synergies between pharma, medtech, tech sectors, and develop and improve access to health technologies. So medtech is a general terminology in one place, and it is a specific terminology when it comes to the EMA. It encompasses wide range of products and services, and it includes medical device, software services, etc. And it lays down proper guidelines for how to handle um, these these kind of products. I just skipped this slide. I'm going back to this innovation in technology and software tools. These are some regulations. These are some what do you say, platforms that the companies have. And this is kind of a repetitive thing, because we have seen this. I would like to highlight the fourth point, which is risk management integration, where you talk of ISO, and we talk of the traceability of the risk controls. So this is an important attribute which the innovation in technology and software tools deals with. And we have this, I mean, this is just for reading. You can later on pause and read this. We need not talk about this because this is again a this is something, some information from the different guidances which give us a clue as to how all these tools work. And then evolving rules and required skills, I think Dr. Ganeshan dealt with it, and I also touched upon it in the initial part of the presentation, how we go into the AI. But then overall, what is required is your technical proficiency. So, you know, you may not, you need not expect that in when you spend 3 4 years in say AI in pharma, you would suddenly become like the chief technical officer, or go to that level, because those will have those technical skills of software or of the IT platforms, or those will be those experts who are going to need the help of the technical experts of the pharma. So this cannot be a single professional output. It has to be a collaborated output. So technical proficiencies here will mean different meanings basically, and they are like a collaborative approach. Then you also have to have communication skills, project management skills, regulatory intelligence. And then there is a specialized knowledge area, where you talk of specific therapeutic domain expertise, so that you know what to feed into the software to get the outcome. So that is also a very required area here, which will be like the specialized medical professionals will come very useful over here. I go to my next slide. And then ethical principles, as I said, these are very difficult to discuss, but we have all these guidelines or all these frameworks which direct our ethics, which is your compliance with legal framework, compliance to IP framework, environmental impact, data protection, moral and philosophical alignments with the work that you do. So it is said, the outcome cannot justify the means. So if the means are not good, but the outcome is good, I wouldn't say it is an ethical way of working. And then there is also something that everybody of us has a responsibility to meet the growing patients' expectations, where they want faster drugs, efficacious drugs, safer drugs, easier to use drugs, etc., etc. So that's it. That is my presentation. And thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Tanushri, and thank you, Biotechnica, for giving me this opportunity. It was really nice sharing my thoughts with you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Renuka ma'am, for sharing such forward-looking perspectives on artificial intelligence and machine learning. It was really very insightful, and lot of details you have provided on artificial intelligence and machine learning. I hope like all the attendees, they must have definitely now well understood that how artificial intelligence and machine learning plays a very important role in today's scenario, and what misconceptions we have related to them, and what are the innovations in the emerging technologies, and what being a GRA one need to be updated with. So thank you so much, ma'am. So
Thank you.
now
And
it's
if
time.
I overstepped a few minutes, I'm so sorry for that. Thank you for
No, it's
tolerating.
absolutely fine, ma'am. It's absolutely fine. Thank you so much. Okay, so before we begin with the session three, I request all the attendees to please post your questions in the chat, and we'll address them during the live Q&A session. So now I request Bhanu Melvin ma'am, to please start with her presentation. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Dr. Tanushri, and good evening, Ms. Renuka Joshi, ma'am, and good evening, Dr. Ganeshan, and every attendees here. I know that this is the last moment, and you guys have already been filled in with lots of knowledge and information regarding regulatory affairs. So I would like to take this on a very brief note, because today actually I don't feel this as a webinar, because it was a lot of informative session for me as well, and it was very nice hearing to both of the speakers. Now, most of you who are attending this webinar today are here with an expectation to know what is regulatory affairs and how you want to frame your career to begin in regulatory affairs, right? So you have got a full amount of information now, what to do, what not to do, how you have to be, and all. Now let me take you a brief through how you have to strategically plan your careers. Fine. So most of you might be having a question that I'm not from a pharma background, so will I be an apt candidate for regulatory affairs? I might be from a biotech background. So will I get a job opportunity? Why should they call me? Will they even call me for an interview? So these might be some of your questions over here. So let us just get into that. So I'm not getting into the introductions of regulatory affairs because frankly speaking, according to me, regulatory affairs is everywhere. So we might, at times, we might only think about India, but we need to really understand what is happening across the globe in case of regulatory affairs. So we might feel that regulatory affairs is only confined to drugs, cosmetics, and medical devices, but it is not. But in the real world scenario, it's not like that. It's very vast, it's very huge. So you don't have to hesitate, or you don't have to be tense that you do not know, or you may not have an opportunity only in these fields. It's very vast. So if you're a person attending out of India, then look into the opportunities and what are the regulated products in that country. So this is one way. When you are interested about a field, when you are there, first understand whether you have an interest in regulatory affairs or not. I hope my screen is okay.
Yes, ma'am, it's absolutely perfect.
Okay. I think I skipped the other slide. So yeah. So what you will have to understand is, what do I need to have to get into this field? As a fresher, what do I need to have, or what do I need to maintain to get into this field? As an experienced person, what I need to have to get into this field? First, as a fresher, be from any kind of background you are, you need to understand what is regulatory affairs. Do I have interest in that field? What kind of job roles are there? What kind of job responsibilities do I carry? This is very, very important. Please go through the job profiles, the roles and responsibilities, what the companies are asking for, and whether are you interested in doing that. Because sometimes we might just think that, okay, I just need to have a 9 to 5 office job and then it's done. No, every job requires two main characteristics from an individual, that is accountability and responsibility. So we need to be responsible, especially in case of regulatory affairs. You're dealing with drugs which are going to enter the market, or you're dealing with something that is already in the market. So your responsibility means many lives outside. Be it a vaccine, be it a drug, be it a medical device, be it anything, it costs a human life. Are you responsible to take those? Can you be accountable for whatever you are doing? Now, think about the different opportunities that you can have. You can go as an regulatory associate. Let me just go to the previous slide, because yes. So what are the education backgrounds? You can be from any of those backgrounds, B.Pharm, M.Pharm, whatever it is, from any of the life sciences background. Then what do you need to have? You need to have an understanding about how this regulatory affairs deals with. What are the basic certifications, or what are the basic documentations they do? Then understand about those documents. Because being freshers, we cannot showcase any kind of experience, but what we can showcase is the theoretical understanding of what you know about that particular job, how much theoretically you are equipped to speak about that job, right? Someone can work on a computer only when they know which alphabet means what. Even to write a computer programming code, you need to know the alphabets, right? Even to do a calculation, you need to know additions and subtractions. In the same way, it is not always your technical skills, it is your theoretical or your expertise in that particular field is really, really important. So now identify in which field you are interested in. If you are interested in ECTD, that's a common technical document which we use for regulatory approvals. Then understand about CTD. When you're applying for jobs, talk about them. Go very in depth into that, and then you speak about that. Then the interviewer who is speaking to you will understand this is a person with zeal. Do not misunderstand that in an interview they will only check your certificates, your n number of other certifications that you have. They check how much interested you are in that job and how much amount of knowledge you carry, rather than experience comes next. Industries are ready to give an opportunity, but being a fresher or an experienced person, we need to show that zeal and enthusiasm, that I want to learn about this topic. Then industries will surely hire you to give that opportunity to you. So that is the way we can crack an interview, and this is the way we need to even plan for that. Then there are some software tools like VivoVault and all. We might not really get an opportunity to learn about these tools, but in case if they are asking you in an interview, do a good internet search. You have some videos available on that. You have articles available on those things, so you can literally get knowledge from there as well, how a software works. Then there are various tools like structured product labeling, SPL tools. If you are a person who is very interested in a labeling of your products, then check about these tools, search about these tools, increase your knowledge about these tools, and then you attend an interview. So you will become someone unique in that crowd, and that's how you can crack an interview. The next one is certifications. We have multiple certifications from RAPS, that is Regulatory Affairs Pharmaceutical Society, and we have from a DIA, that is Drug Information Association. They offer multiple certifications. ISO 13485, ICA GCP guidelines, and AI is now actually it's everywhere, confusing everyone that all the jobs will be taken away by AI. But as Ms. Renuka Joshi has already given a point, take a note of that point. For AI to give, we usually call it as prompts, or maybe like NPL, natural language processing, NLP. So that language is something that, being a human being, we need to feed into AI so that it understands and it gives output. What A can give, or A gives B, that's what. So this A is what we are feeding in. So try to increase your understanding about that, because AI is already into the market. So they need professionals who can do those things. Always think how you can be first in that race or something. Then you shift your understanding to NLP, then understand about regulatory affairs, and then learn something about NLP, and then try to apply those jobs. So you will be the first one to apply or to go there, and then you can have a seat over there. Then the various roles we have as regulatory associate, document specialist, quality trainee. Be ready to accept a position. If you are interested, then accept a position, learn from there. Every job gives you one or the other learning lessons. Learn from there. So you will have to have certain skills of basically the theoretical understanding of all these things. Then tips is focus on building foundation through practical exposure. So whenever there are some webinars conducted, whenever there are some free trainings conducted by any of the organizations dealing with regulatory affairs, grab them. Be in touch with the regulatory communities. Be in touch with your LinkedIn profiles. Then be active on your LinkedIn profiles. Keep updating yourself. Explore the regulatory websites. The various, every country has their own website, right? So explore those websites. See what is happening new. A regulatory person is someone who needs to be awake 24/7, right? So when you go for an interview, or when you want to plan your careers into that one, understand like newspaper, how do we get the daily updates? In the same way, understand what is happening in the regulatory field every day. See what are the product recalls that has happened. See what are the adverse effects that have been happened. See what is happening over there. How many companies have been shut down? What are the new drugs that have been released into the market? Always have that. So that is how you can show to someone that you are interested, or you really wanted to do something in that field. Then the next one is you can get your mid-level careers. So these are some of the positions. What happens is, for these mid-level career opportunities, we get into comfort zones. Yeah, I'm drawing my monthly salary. Yeah, I'm having the company is good, it's stable, it's giving me every month, and there are no delays in my pay and all. So what happens is we enter into the comfort zones, and then we stop improvising or increasing our knowledge, and then we expect to have career hikes. How is that possible? If a company is giving you a career hike or a salary hike, they expect double the amount as a hard work, right? In order to do that, see your field. If you want to continue in the same field, then see what you need to do next. So if you're someone working with CTD documents, then you work with the tools or the softwares which you can use in order to frame those CTDs. Become an expert in that. So that's how you're going to frame in your career and grow in your career. If you're someone who wants to do your labeling, yes, like previously we have seen, get into the SLP tools. So that's how we have to plan your already existing jobs. So without these improvements, please do not expect any hikes or any shifts, because when the company is ready to invest, they need to have an expert, because they need to reduce the burden of the higher management overlooking everyone. So this is what they'll be expecting from you. Educational and certification roadmap. We have seen that you have relevant degrees. Then you can do some certifications available. Have a knowledge about regulatory affairs, what it does, and then continue in building up your knowledge from multiple certifications, multiple programs, and all. Where and all you can, as said in the beginning, regulatory affairs is very vast. You can apply in any company, but before applying, understand what the company is asking from you, understand what you have to give during an interview. Being a regulatory person, you also need to have very good communication skills. I'm not telling about the accents, I'm telling about communication. Your S, yes, yes, needs to be an yes, and a no, because you deal with regulations and we don't alter the regulations as per someone's convenience. So you need to have a very strong command of regulatory guidelines. If you ask me, can I get a very strong command in the beginning? No, you cannot. It comes with experience, it comes with practice, and before all this comes, your interest in that field. If you are interested, then you will explore the things and then you will try to learn the things. So we all might have seen kids, if they are interested to explore a basket full of toys, they keep on searching for those, even though the toy that they are searching is a very minute one. So that's how we need to be. We need to be so specific and so focused. Build a very strong profile, build your LinkedIn profiles, then participate in the webinars as said. And when you work in this way, one day or the other, the opportunities will knock on your door. And where and all you can be in clinical research, you can be in global regulatory fields. And in one or the other way, we need to really thank COVID that it has opened up the remote opportunities for regulatory affairs field as well. So you can work, you can be in your own hometown and you can work across the globe. So this is a wonderful opportunity. So being a fresher, do not fill up your minds with unnecessary things or unnecessary thoughts and questions, whether I'll get a job or I'll not get a job, and how much salary my friends are drawing, how much salary I need to get. Focus on an opportunity, give your full to the opportunity, keep learning, keep strategically planning, keep moving, and you will be succeeding in that. Yes, persistence, networking, certifications of global certifications, or that means improving your knowledge on them. Everything will really give you opportunities to move further. So regulatory affairs is very impactful, very demanding, one of the careers that is going to be more in future, because every country is trying to bring in good amount of regulations for which will be including which are dealing with the public health. Especially if you can see Egypt, African countries are actually improving a lot of Gulf regions. These are actually improving the regulations in order to increase the quality of the products. So keep learning, keep exploring where and all you can apply, you can go and you can get an experience from, and then be a competitive person in the field. Don't stop learning, and you will really succeed. You have got a very good information from the previous two speakers. So use them, go through the live once again whenever you can. And that's how I think these are some of the points that I would like to add from my point of view. And thank you so much everyone for your attention. And one thing I would like to really recommend is be the regulatory voice. That you need to have a very good command and you need to decide something has to be done as per the regulations or no. Your no should be a no. If you need something, it needs to be done on the product. To be that strong, that can come when you have that command on your subject and when you become that expert in your field. Yeah. So saying this, thank you so much everyone, and thank you Biotechnica for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you so much, Bhanu Melvin ma'am, for such a practical and highly informative session. Thank you. So everyone, it's time for Q&A session. So I would like to take a few questions from the chat. So first question I'm taking is of Shubhakarini Prabhakaran. So She's asked that since regulatory affairs rely on confirmation and evidence, how can artificial intelligence, which works on predictions, shall fit into such a strictly verification-based system? Dr. Renuka, ma'am, would you like to take up this question?
Yes, yes, it is a very nice question, and the answer is in the question itself. See, when you have very strict requirements, there is no gray zone. Okay, so A is going to lead to B. If you are talking of, say, what you need at marketing authorization is minimum 3 continuous batches in the process validation and a shelf life of, if you are claiming a shelf life of 24 months at the end of the during the approval, and if at the time of the submission you are having a 6 month stability data in your dossier, you are not going to get a 24 months at approval. So it is a very straightforward input that is going to condition the model to give the gap. Okay. This question will be where, if Shubhakarini would have removed a strict verification based system, that clause, and it applies to the gray zones of your requirements. When I say gray zones, it might mean something like um, suppose you are having a statistical program, you have to be in the endpoints, between say 80 to 120 for bioequivalence, or 80 to 125, whatever is approved in the consultation with the agencies. But if there is, say, it is not 125 and it is 126, do we say that our product is not bioequivalent? Then we have to justify scientifically, because the product might be of such attributes, the product might have some variation in its specifications. There are so many reasons. That is where all the data till now will come into play, and it will help us justify whether a particular margin does not allow the product to be approved or allows the product to be approved. So the stricter the requirements, easier is the one-to-one correspondence and easier is the outcome. But in the gray zones, we have to really apply the conditions for the predictive analysis. That is where the technical folks in the company have to be supported with good scientific thinking people. So they club all these conditions in the predictions. And it is like, you cannot say linguistical, if this was that, that was that. No, you have to have clear words: yes, no, black, white, those kind of words. So it is really on that technical support and the collaboration that I mentioned during my presentation to make this prediction possible. I hope I cannot answer you exactly in a software language, but this is how it is showing the way to be maturing now. Thank you for your question, Shubhakani.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a wonderful explanation. I hope this answers your question, Shubhkadini. We have another question from Mihir. Mihir wants to know that whether GR is also helpful for M Pharma students, because right now he's pursuing MS Pharma in Department of Pharmaceutics. Bhanu Melvin, ma'am, would you like to take up this question?
Yeah, yes, Meher, because it's also useful because pharmaceutics you deal with formulations, and also we do have regulations out there. So as said, regulatory affairs is everywhere. Where not? It's everywhere from the beginning of the drug development till the comes into the market, and till the complete life cycle of a drug, it's there. So without any doubts and questions, you can continue to have your career in regulatory affairs. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope this answers your question, Mihir. There is another question which I would like to take is from GP. GP wants to know that how to switch from QC microbiologist to RA with 2.5 years of experience in microbiology department in pharma industry. Dr. Ganeshan, you are the best one to answer this question. Please, I request you to take up this question.
Thank you so much for that question. I am a microbiologist and I have a PhD in microbiology. And when I went into the industry, it must be some long time back. Just as Renuka ma'am said, we didn't have like the dedicated courses or anyone. We just relied on our seniors and on their moods to teach us everything. But now you have an advantage. You have different courses. You have a lot of material on the internet, and everything is available. And even Biotechnica is having courses which will help you. So the transition can be smooth. It is, I won't say very easy, but it can be facilitated. So first, I would give somehow like a 6 months transition period where you start to understand the role of an RA, familiarize yourself, go on social media like LinkedIn, see what are the roles available. You can develop the relevant skills, like, read more about the regulatory guidelines and the regulatory submissions. There are constantly, once you start following it, you'll start getting updates on the same thing over and again. You'll be updated on what is the most recent thing. So when you sit for an interview and they'll tell you, what is current, and you are able to answer, that is your first try. And then you will leverage even your QC experience. It's not that it's not going to be useful. So you will know already, you have an analytical mind, you will have a problem solving skill, and you will have a knowledge about certain amount of documentation, that what would be the correct answer to this particular risk, what will be the risk, a risk mitigation. You will know all these things. So A plus B plus C, you will have a regulatory knowledge because you're gaining it over a period of time. And then you update your resume on all that. See, that is the most important part. Unless you're right, it is like the Indian scriptures. We lost a lot of it because Indians did not document it, and then somebody got the patent for turmeric. So you have to document it in your resume. Make sure that you're updating yourself, upgrade yourself, put it on your CV, and apply for the right post. Network with people. When I say network, don't just ping everyone on LinkedIn and say that, hey, this job is there, will you get me? Just interact with them. And they will start feeling that you have certain amount of knowledge, or at least an interest. You will start getting the open job, which is not even published on LinkedIn or any other like Indeed or anywhere. And that is when you leverage all your knowledge and get into a good job. So it is a transition. It's not easy, but then you don't get butterflies out of caterpillar without effort. So put that effort and you'll be there. All the best to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope this answers your question, GP. We are running out of time, so I will be taking last two questions. So there is a question from Bharth Chitti that how can a fresher enter regulatory affairs without prior experience? Dr. Renuka, ma'am, would you like to take up this question?
Yeah, sure. I think already, Doctor, I missed the name. I'm forgetting the name of the last speaker. Sorry.
Ganesh.
Dr.
Uh,
Ganeshan.
Ganeshan and the other one, sorry. Uh,
Bhanu
Madam,
ma'am.
yes. Hello. Sorry, Bhanu Madam. I'm very bad with names. So actually, Bhanu Madam informed this, how you have to do this. It is not
Hmm.
about, so there is nothing ready-made. Even if you end up doing any master's or postgraduate diploma with regulatory affairs, that will not guarantee you. What you have to do is you have to have an entry point somewhere. You just enter first. To give you some context, I am an Ayurvedic doctor. I am a BMS. I've done my MD in pharmaceutics, and I wanted to learn how a drug has to be developed in the proper way. I joined the Ayurvedic industry. I did not find it up to my satisfaction that I'm doing the right kind of R&D there, and I had an opportunity for medical writing in the mainline pharma. And from there, I got stuck to biotechnology somehow into biosimilars, and I kept on upgrading myself, and I'm here. And on the way, then I upgraded my credentials with doing some PG diploma, MSc, MBA. I mean, all those kind of things which I thought are going to help my personality as a regulatory affairs professional. So get the entry point. It is not about getting into regulatory affairs. And as Dr. Ganeshan was explaining to the microbiologist with the example in microbiology, you take any field, the regulatory affairs is a internal police for the industry. You need not, the health agency need not tell you what is right or wrong in your submission. It is your product, it is your accountability. You don't want people to die or suffer from side effects out of your product. You want to sell the product, but in an ethical way and make money for the company.
Correct.
If that is the goal, what you need to know is you work in any field. You work in clinical, you work in analytical, you work in any field. There are guidelines for each and every step that we do in regulatory. ICH has all the four modules QSEM. All the analytical people, they look at their own Q guidelines. Manufacturing folks look at their own Q sections. Get thorough with the guidelines. Even if you are at a junior level in the company, ask questions. Why are we doing this when it is not supported by the guideline? Come into a highlight within the company. When you are reviewing the dossier sections as a subject matter expert, give your inputs which are in line with the guidelines. And when you are in the gambit of the guidelines, the compliance is better, the frequency of questions from the health agencies is less, and then you are already a regulatory affairs practicing professional within your department. You do not need a RA tag or a RA department. RA department is a cross-functional collaborating department, and we have to be on the top of everything, that is for sure. But if I am writing a dossier, I do not approve it myself. I request each SME to review their respective sections, to give us the inputs whether this is in sync with the guideline or not. Okay, that might be my job to say as a RA whether it is in the review of the guidelines, but as a one person, as a human, I do not have all the guidelines at the tip of my tongue, that when I read something I say okay, it is not acceptable or it is acceptable. Whether you are using compendial methods like M Pharma person, you are the best, you have the best tool of education to work in regulatory affairs. If the methods are compendial, you know what to do. If they are non compendial, then have you provided the SOP in detail, have you provided the steps of analytical methodology in detail? All these questions will be in sync with the guidelines. So there is nothing like ready-made RA job. You have to make yourself a RA professional by demonstrating continuously that you are so aligned to the regulatory guidelines that people will start saying, oh, if this person is there, he would have pointed out what is missing in this submission, what should be there in the submission. You will be missed at work, and that is the point you can be sure that your transition is happening into regulatory affairs. I hope I have
Thank
answered
you.
the question.
Yes, yes, definitely, ma'am. Thank you so much for such a wonderful and detailed explanation. So now it's time for the last question, which is from Pratiti Das, that can we switch from biotech field into GRA? Bhanu, ma'am, would you like to take up this question?
Yes, yes, for sure. Yeah, Pratiti. Again, like we are rounding the globe. You can shift from anywhere to regulatory. Most welcome. We have a lot of biosimilars. We have a lot of biologics everywhere. So who is going to stop you? No one is going to stop you. When regulatory affairs is actually going to take a very huge place in biologics, because people are shifting from synthetic drugs to the natural medicines now. So you will be in utmost demand in the upcoming future. And again, as said once again, you need to really understand: am I really a person who loves RA? Can I really fit into that field, or am I just shifting because some of my friend has got an opportunity, because someone is working in my family, or someone is going to refer you out there? Think about that, because we know most of the time nowadays, especially freshers, what they are planning is, my friend is getting some MBA in a company, so I'll also shift there. Why don't I get? So I'll go for a certification over there. Don't do that, but think, look all the job descriptions, look how RA works, learn, do your own research about that. And then if you're really interested into that field, then do not waste your biotech educational this background. And if you have any experience, then of course that. Do not waste that. Try to make a career from biotech to biotech itself, but being in regulatory. So then you don't waste anything. You don't simply jump here and there and then finally we are lost in a desert. So don't do that. Do your biotech, search about RA, see how you can connect without wasting your biotech, how you can connect to RA. Search for those opportunities and pitch them. Pitch them at the right time and with the right opportunities. Then you go for certifications, prepare yourself, and surely they will hire you. There is no point that they'll not accept any biotech graduate. So again, if you are there in the future, then welcome to regulatory affairs. Yes, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Dr. Ganeshan, would you like to add something?
No, I suppose Bhanu ma'am has covered more or less everything. And as a person who has been in biotech industry, I can tell you that yes, come into it only if you find that you have a keen eye for details, and you wouldn't get bored with endless documents and queries, and you can shoulder responsibilities. If you feel that you can do this, then the world is yours. Welcome to the field.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. There are two lot of questions, but Due to time constraint, I won't be able to take them. So I request all the attendees that please, you can post your questions at cst@biotechnica.org and our experts will going to answer them. So as we come to the close of today's insightful webinar, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank each of our speakers for their time and valuable contributions today. Thank you very much, Dr. Ganeshan ma'am, for your detailed and insightful session, your explanation of the global regulatory landscape, key agencies, about the skills and the career opportunities has given our participants a very strong and clear foundation. We truly appreciate your expertise and the value you brought to today's webinar. Thank you, Dr. Renuka ma'am, for sharing such forward-looking and impactful insights on artificial intelligence, machine learning. Your perspectives on digital transformation, emerging technologies, and the future of global regulatory affairs were incredibly informative. We sincerely
Thank you.
appreciate the time, the depth, and experience you brought to this session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bhanu Melvin ma'am, for very practical and empowering session. Your guidance on qualifications, tools, interview expectations, and global career strategies will truly help aspiring regulatory professionals to take confident next steps. We truly value the expertise and real-world insights you shared with us today. And to all our participants, thank you for your active engagement and thoughtful questions. I hope today's webinar have given you clarity, direction, and renewed confidence in pursuing a strong career in global regulatory affairs. So as we wrap up, I would also like to remind you about our upcoming GRA hands-on training program with Project Work starting from 21st November 2025. It's an excellent opportunity to gain practical exposure and industry relevant skills. Thank you once again for your active engagement, and we look forward to welcoming you to our future sessions. Wishing you all continued learning, growth, and a wonderful evening ahead.
Thank you, Tanushree ma'am. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.